Hey, Dan, I've always been interested in actors' interesting early jobs. Didn't you used to test the strength of airport runways?
I did a lot. I had a not, lot of neat jobs because my father was in the federal government in Ottawa, Canada, and therefore, a guy would call him and say, "Well, my daughter needs a job for the summer. She's, in engineering. Do you think she could, And he'd, if he was with the National Capital Commission, he could hire her as an engineer. Then he'd trade a job. He said, "Well, my son needs a job," so we'd trade. They, terrible nepotism, whatever. But I was a clerk 5 for the Solicitor General's office in the penitentiary service, and I wrote a manual for prison guards one summer. Here's my job history. I'll give it to you real quick. 14 years old, started at the Canadian National Railway as a warehouseman. Then I moved on to the penitentiary service, and then I tested runways, load tested runways, which was a bizarre thing. I had to drive 2 big trucks, jack them up onto a plate that depressed the runway, and you lay under the trucks on blankets all night, calling out readings every minute. So it was like 0059. And so I told the guy, I said, "Look, 0057, and he turned into a robot at the end of it. And then I went up north as a road rodman in the Northwest Territories, the Canadian Arctic Spectacular, and I ended up as a flex track mechanic there. The guy from Stettler, Alberta, Ted Howlett, God bless him. And so I had a lot of neat jobs, really.
I interviewed Steve Martin a few months ago, and we were talking about how people still come up to him and say, "Wild and crazy guy."
Yeah.
How often do people quote lines from old SNL skits to you?
Well, the weirdest one I heard was a guy yelled at me from across the street a line from my movie Nothing But Trouble, which was not a commercial success, but a serviceable comedy nevertheless, where I played the old judge there, and he said, look who's got the front seat in the Mexican hat dance now." And this movie was not a hit, and it's so obscure, and it's like from 3 blocks away I hear, "Look who's got the front seat at the Mexican hat dance now," just as I'd said it as the old judge in the movie, to Demi and Chevy. And I thought, geez, that is weird. Of all the lines, that's the one that kind of jumped out at him. Sure, people do it all the time. That was the most obscure and weird one, so. It's out there in the public lexicon with the videotapes. You'll have it for years. And Fred Garvin, male prostitutes. Fred Garvin. They like to hear that one.
One question about the early career still. Driving Miss Daisy. The Oscar nomination
so long
for that.
ago, though, I do not recall really. Did I really get it? Boy, yeah, was I there that night?
Yeah, was that a movie? I mean, was that a tremendous amount of satisfaction with that film? And did you have to? Were there people who didn't want you to play that?
It was very interesting how I got that role. I saw it was like a guy told me he saw Page 6 in New York, where Richard Dreyfuss was in town in Manhattan to play Bully in the stage play. And this biker friend of mine, he said, "I've seen that play, man. You'd be perfect for that part." And I said, "Well, I'm not doing Broadway." But then the movie thing came up, and I said, "You know what?" He said, "You should read for that." So I called, and I went in, and Dick Zanuck and Bruce Beresford were in the room there. And I walked in, I said, I had made an appointment, came in to read, and they asked me if I could do the accent, did a little of the accent. They, and right in front of me, they went, "Well, he's kind of he kind of looks the part. We want the dark and kind of a little portly, and yeah, he can do the accent. Yeah, well, he could, right in front of me, they sort of decided it was okay. So I really kind of went in and tried and sort of just auditioned and read for it, and they said fine, and I got a beautiful answer. And the nomination aside, and the fact that I got to work in the beautiful city of Atlanta and be a part of a great American story, just the satisfaction of working with Jessica Tandy and Morgan Freeman. And that's why that nomination was there, because they complimented my performance, and it ended up being Best Picture '89. And
Yeah. Got a question about this movie. I was an extra in the film Foul Play once. It was fascinating for 2 days to sit in an audience and watch them shoot a
sure,
film.
up in Frisco there.
In this movie, how were the people, the extras? Did you find yourself entertaining them at all in between takes?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with them. There was a core group in and around us that we got to know a little better. Like the 2 lads that were sitting next to us were quite nice human beings, and And you know, we saw them as good people. You know, some of them were just a little wild and too excited about being there. But no, yeah, we were doing things. You know, doing lines and you know, just and playing back and forth with them. You know, and absolutely having fun because these were the real people. I mean, these really were the real Celtics fans. You know, and so we were very respectful of them. Yeah.
Great. All right. Thanks, sir.
All right, you bet.